So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are around the globe. We'll get started in a couple of minutes, but I just wanted to let you know that you're in the right place, and while we wait for others to join us, we'll provide you with a short update from the King's Alumni Office about our international presence, since so many of you are joining us today from all around the world. Actually, we have viewers tuning in from about 42 different countries. And a special welcome to viewers from places like Barbados, Chile, Kazakhstan, to Kenya, and much more. Welcome to the Alumni Speaker Series. So, Samir, tell us about our international alumni presence.
Hi there, my name is Samir Farag, and I'm the International Alumni Manager here at King's. My team and I support the International Alumni Program, which is focused on our global community spread across the world. King's has 30% of all alumni based outside the UK, which is around 50,000 alumni. As Johanna mentioned, many of you are based abroad, so I wanted to take this opportunity to share with you some of the work of the international program and upcoming activities that you can get involved with. If you're based in the UK but are traveling or working abroad, there are many great opportunities for you to connect with fellow King's alumni as well when you're overseas. The Alumni Office hosts events in cities around the world each year. Our last events were in the US in October, where we hosted 5 events on both coasts. And next year, from March 20th to 27th, we'll be visiting the Asia Pacific with events in Hong Kong, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, Shanghai, and Beijing. So please do look out for more information in the new year. I really wanted to highlight the great work of our international alumni leaders and committees who host events and activities throughout the year. We have over 90 alumni volunteers in over 50 countries who support their local alumni networks. You can find out who your local volunteer is on the alumni community website. If your city doesn't have a local leader yet, please do reach out to the Alumni Office at alumoff@kcl.ac.uk if you'd like to hear more about supporting your local network. With such a big community, this year we decided to do a big push to celebrate Duel Day internationally. I'm sure you're all familiar with Duel Day, but Duel Day is the annual event commemorating the duel fought between the Duke of Wellington and the Earl of Winchester over the founding of King's College London. Our international alumni leaders hosted 25 events in cities across the world, and we had hundreds of alumni attending these events. Just to give you a bit of a snapshot, these events took place across the US, in Nigeria, France, Thailand, Cyprus, and Colombia. So it was a truly global event, which was well represented by the very global King's Alumni Network. The date of Duel Day is March 21st, but events are hosted in the weeks before and after this. We'll be hosting Duel Day again in 2017, with hopefully even more cities involved. So look out for more information about your local events in the new year. And again, if you'd like to organize a Duel Day celebration or become your local leader, please do reach out. Finally, I wanted to remind you that there are amazing benefits that you can take advantage of no matter where you're based. Please visit the alumni community website to find out more, but 2 of them that I wanted to highlight was the free access to online journals, JSTOR, which a lot of alumni have taken advantage of. I also really wanted to encourage you to join our unique platform called King's Connect. King's Connect is our online mentoring platform which allows you to connect with other alumni so you can access it from anywhere, anytime. It also enables you to become a mentee or a mentor to King's alumni or students. At the moment, there are over 1,800 alumni on the platform, and this number keeps on growing. So you'll get a link after this event with access to the platform, as well as a link to a lot of the other information. So I really encourage you to get in touch if you have any questions and take advantage of the amazing international benefits. But that's enough for me for now. So I'm going to hand over to Johanna, and I hope you really enjoyed the event.
So hello again, everyone, and welcome to our Alumni Speaker Series from wherever you may be in the world. So today's event will feature King's alumna Sarah Chen, who's tuning in today from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The aim of the Alumni Speaker Series is to feature King's alumni from various professions and to provide you with an insight and practical tips that you can then incorporate into your professional life. You might already know me, but if you don't, my name is Johanna Kenda Fischerova, and I'm the Alumni Engagement Manager here at the Alumni Office at King's College London, and I oversee the Young Alumni Program. Thank you so much for joining us today. And just before we begin, I'm going to go over a couple housekeeping rules. So the session should last about 30 minutes, and you'll have a chance to go back and view the video on our YouTube channel after the event as well. The name of our YouTube channel is King's Alumni Office. And I know many of you have submitted your questions ahead of time, and we thank you so much for that. But if you would like to ask Sarah any other questions during our live stream, please tweet us at KCL Alumni. Now, we might not get to all of the questions, but Sarah is very happy to connect with you on her various social media channels or also on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out to her. And lastly, I hope that this session today is interactive, so please do ask your questions. I will try to answer as many of them as possible. And now, onto the important part of the event. So our speaker today is Sarah Chen, and she graduated from King's in 2011 with a degree in law. Sarah seeks to drive new innovative value for Sime Darby via international strategic partnerships, investments, and acquisitions under its corporate ventures unit, Sime Darby Renewables. Focused on developing the company's bio-based agenda, she manages the deal cycle from origination to execution, working closely on negotiations and deal structuring with target companies. She also acts as an investment manager for select companies post-acquisition, involved in value creation and portfolio development work. But that's not all. Outside of work, Sarah remains active in the field of women in business, as she was awarded a fellowship with the Royal Society of Arts, Manufacturers and Commerce of England. Sarah is also a co-founder of Asia Women's Circle that drives Lean In Malaysia, a women's-led foundation which harnesses the power of community and leadership to embolden women to achieve their full potential. And in January 2016, Sarah was appointed by Sheryl Sandberg, who's the CEO of Facebook, as a regional leader, championing the Lean in Asia with a reach beyond 300,000 people. Now with that, let's get started. So Sarah, since the title of this event is Making Your Mark, would you tell us what it really means to make a mark and how can this be done?
Sure. First of all, thank you everyone for joining in today. It's 9 o'clock tonight here in Kuala Lumpur, but I'm sure all of you are tuning in during lunch hour and things like that. So thanks so much for joining in to speak. Making your mark for me is really about leaving your own unique legacy. A lot of times I find we waste time living other people's lives and living up to expectations of society. But what's really important in making your mark is really finding your unique space and honing your full potential into that and leaving a legacy.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Sarah. And you kind of working in a managerial position, which is kind of usually male-dominated, I would say. What do you find are the challenges as a woman? And how do you kind of strike the right balance between kind of work and your life outside of work?
Sure. So taking the first question, I think being in investments fields, it's generally quite male-dominated in the sense that I guess the skill sets might be a little bit more natural for men to go into, where it's a little bit more naturally, traditionally deemed more cutthroat and things like that. It's deals, and these can be traditionally been seen to be masculine concepts. But I think the dynamics of things are changing. Stereotypes no longer apply as much anymore, but it's still, I think it's quite, it's naive to say that there is not anymore an all boys club. There still is. And what is challenging sometimes as a woman is really to penetrate that and really make your mark as a real professional and not be seen as, another pretty face, right? So I think it's important to first build your substance. Let's not use gender as, I talk about gender a lot because I see some of the differences which impact the work that I do and actually hold some women back. But I think it's important to first, as an individual, recognize that you need to be a good investment professional or whatever professional you are in to really make sure that you have your substance, build a track record, and with your sort of skills at networking, things like that, slowly penetrate in the all boys club and officially, you're sort of making the all boys club a all good people club, and you get into the deals and things like that. So I think it's important to realize what your strengths are, build on them, and not let sort of old concepts hold you back. And the second question was about...
So it was about the work-life balance and...
Work-life. Yeah. Right. So I think that's an interesting question. So I'm not yet a mother, but this question always comes true for mothers. And I think sometimes it's overused. In fact, even as a single person, with even with a boyfriend and things like that, I think your work-life balance as a person, you want to go exercise, you want to live an all-rounded life. I think that's very important, and employers should not look at that as a small thing, because with these days, with the age of millennials coming through, it's very important that employers ensure that their employees engaged and have a balanced work life, so that they're fully productive, things like that. So I think it's about managing expectations, number one. I myself, I do quite a few things, so I wear a couple of hats, but what I've done for myself is, when I started on early in my career, I made sure that I worked really, really hard. I worked damn hard to get the track record and to build the trust from my superiors, so that he knows that no matter what I do, I'm always going to make sure I deliver quality work. And he's okay with that. And if I need to go out somewhere, if I need to come back a little bit later from lunch, I'll tell him. So being transparent is quite important as well. Of course, this varies with leadership styles, right? Some bosses really want you to be there 8 o'clock and checking out by 5 o'clock, or staying on, giving the face time like investment bankers do. So I think it's really up to you to manage that. Taking ownership is very important for your own work-life balance, because sometimes, especially in the capitalism world that we're in, we get pushed with ambition and all that. And a lot of times, I've been there myself, I come back at like 3 a.m. and because I do business with the US, once I actually had a call at 4 a.m. and I was literally so tired, but I just had to stay up because it was what was needed of me. But at the end of the day, you always ask yourself, for what? Does this job make me happy? Sure, money is important, but it's not everything. So I think taking ownership of the life that you want, building a career around it, and speaking to your superiors, and if you're a boss yourself, making sure that you're cognizant of the differences your own staff have, and building a sort of environment that's good for all. Yeah.
I think you addressed a very important question that a lot of our viewers are asking. So thank you for that. Sarah, I also know that you've recently been awarded in the top 40 under 40 in a prestige magazine in Malaysia as someone who is building a sustainable future for the world through women empowerment. So I guess my question to you is, what does women empowerment mean to you? And then I also have a follow-up, and that is more have to deal with about, how do you see religion and the tradition and values of society, especially in Asia, affecting your efforts in empowering women?
Sure. Two very good questions, Joanna. Women empowerment to me is really about being empowered to make your own decisions, whatever that may be in life. It's not really about which path is better. Some people might just want a career that's 9 to 5 and they're happy with that and want to have a more fulfilling sort of NGO type participation outside of work. Some people want a life where family is first and they become a doting mother, which is a respected choice as well. And I think importantly, it's about being valued for your choices, whatever they may be. A lot of times women are judged. That's the big issue that I have for the choices that they make. I think there was recently, actually I watched this movie, Bad Mothers, and it just speaks about the expectations on mothers to be perfect, to have a great career, to also make sure that the lunch boxes are perfect and all things like that. But it's funny when we talk about being a society that is so diverse and we're starting to go into an age, the digital age, where we're seeing more of this and we're becoming a little bit more tolerant of things, we still judge, amongst ourselves even, how can she be doing that, things like that. So I think being empowered means being able to pursue your choices, your ambitions, whatever they may be, professionally and personally. In Asia, that leads me quite nicely to the next portion. In Asia, unfortunately, women are not exactly given the choice to pursue their ambitions. Even in my age, I have had friends who pursued, PhDs from Cambridge, Oxford, and they were sort of pressured by their family, by their parents to get married as soon as possible, the moment they got home, and didn't actually have the option to pursue a career or build a career for themselves. And lo and behold, if something happens, what becomes of them, right? So then she doesn't become an independent woman, and that's when things become a little bit more difficult. In Asia as well, there's always the stereotype that the man in the family, so if there's a son and a daughter, I've had this experience myself, so I'm sharing this personal experiences. I've had friends where their brothers, just because they're boys in the family, especially in Chinese families where boys are seen to be like the golden child, they're given opportunities to pursue higher education, because obviously education is a little bit more expensive with the exchange rate, things like that. And not everyone gets to send their children abroad. So they always pick the son. And straight away, that creates a different life path for both the man and the woman. A woman that's more educated makes choices that are different to a woman who's uneducated, right? And another statistic that's funny, especially in Asia, well, actually, this is a global trend. All around the world, women are getting more and more educated. In Malaysia alone, I think we have about 70% women in the universities, but this is just not translating into senior leadership, right? We only have 5% women CEOs in Malaysia. From that 70% that was educated, it goes down all the way through the funnel, and we only have 5% women CEOs that are leading the top 130 companies. So that changes the game altogether. So I think culture, religion definitely plays a part in the cause that I champion, and it makes it a lot more interesting, I would say, because oftentimes it goes into a very vague area of, oh, it's because of culture. You know, we've built Asian culture to be something that is the reason for a lot of problems, right? But the funny thing is, in Thailand, the number of leadership positions occupied by women are a lot higher. And what I'm doing in a couple of weeks, 3rd of December, so I think that's next week, next Saturday, is we're launching Lean In Asia, where, because a lot of the discussions that we've had have sort of blamed culture, you know, this is like culture, we have to deal with it. We're actually nailing the issue on the head and questioning, hey, okay, wait a minute, let's compare Asian culture. Is it the same in Japan, in Korea? And in fact, it's not. In Japan and Korea, if you look at a graph on women participation, it's an M shape. So women, they drop out from the workforce, but after giving birth and having a family, they actually come back, right? But of course, the question is, are they taking meaningful jobs? Are they remaining in the role that they left? And obviously, the answer is no. But in Malaysia, women just drop out, so it's a single peak graph, and they just don't come back. So I think there's a lot of, it's quite a complex issue to sort of fit into half an hour, but it definitely makes the work that I do in women empowerment very interesting and also a lot more meaningful.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. You're right. That question is too complex to address in the small amount of time we have today. But I guess I want to switch gears a little bit. So how can someone make themselves more known to potential employers? And do you have any personal experience with this or any tips that you could provide?
Absolutely, Johanna. So I think this is quite a good question, especially for young graduates who are building their careers and figuring out what to do and how to get themselves seen. So I think, first of all, you're picking your first ship, your first career path in a company is very important, because that sets out, I guess, what you're going to do for the next at least 2 years of your life. And that will also open up a lot of opportunities for you. And I would say jump at every opportunity, intercompany events, you know, especially in London. This is something that I actually miss in London. There are so many networking events, be it industry-driven ones, be it within the company itself, that you can go to. And that's a really good way of putting yourself out there. I think networking is so important, especially in this day and age. And the question is then next, how do you stand out? Because there's so many people, right? So it's really about figuring out what's important to you, what you would want to be known for, and really building your personal brand. So for myself, I actually started in business, and that actually gave me the opportunity to go for conferences, to meet different people across industries that I was interested in. So I picked and chose what I went for as well, and spent some time sort of strategizing what would be good for me, not just now, but for the next career path. So I think always thinking ahead, planning where to go, number one. Number two, if there are events within, go for it. Put yourself out there. If there are things to volunteer for, if you have the time and you're passionate about it, do it. If there isn't, like what I did, I started it, right? So even in King's, actually what we did with a couple of friends is we built the King's College London Business Club. And then we decided, hey, okay, some of them wanted to go into finance, some of them wanted to go into investment banking. So we created events and invited this bunch of people. And because you're from the King's Alumni Network, you can actually invite the MD, right? So don't be afraid to go in for the big guns. The worst that you'll get is a no. And also, I think whilst you're doing sort of the external activities on the internal side of things, how I like to section it is your own capabilities, making sure that you also stay focused in keeping your head down and making sure you build out, getting career. I think it's very, very important to be put in roles where you can do projects that have clear results, clear KPIs, because you always want to say, this year in this role, I've done this. So being smart about it, I would say, being really smart in planning your career. You might not know the answer straight away, and I think that's fine. You know, I did not exactly know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a partner in a law firm, right? That's why I did law in King's. But my internship in Chicago really changed things for me. And I thought, hey, I wanted to be on the commercial side. So I think just always having the next step in mind, and no matter what, just putting one foot in front of the other, that's quite important.
Great. So my next question is actually very similar to a question we recently received from Twitter, but it kind of has to do about kind of, you know, looking, I guess, your life up to this point. Where has your inspiration come from? And did you have any inspirational mentors in your life that really influenced you?
Where does my inspiration come from? So I've been asked this before, and it's a very hard one to answer, because I think, you know, looking back even at the way I was brought up, I was never really, contrary to tiger mom stereotype and the Asian sort of cracking the whip on the child, I've never really been pressured by my parents to achieve you know, say 100% or whatever it is, but I've always been encouraged to be the best version of myself. So that's really taught me a lot in terms of the way I've approached things. So I've always been encouraged to put myself forward and not be afraid. I was brought up in a family that never used gender as a discriminatory tool. Even as the youngest daughter in the family, I was always given every opportunity there was and encouraged in the direction that I wanted to go into. My father was, so my late father was always known to give ice cream as bribes. So he would actually say, you know, if you do well, you get an ice cream. But if I lost in a competition, we would also go and have ice cream. So, you know, it's quite an interesting parenting way. And I'm quite nervous, you know, going to be thinking about parenting next time about, you know, how on earth my parents actually did that. But in terms of an inspirational figure, for me, this actually might be the inspiration for what I do now. The fact that I never saw an Asian woman who was seen to be like Oprah Winfrey, right? So she's in America, she's Black, and she comes from a totally different background from me. And all my life I was looking, hey, you know, is there someone like me? Is there someone who's brought up in the way that I have been brought up, who's achieved great things in life that I can look up to? And so far, even to this day, there's not one person that I genuinely look up to from this region. And that's why I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to be that person, and I need to live my best life so that the other girls who see me will also say that, hey, it's not okay to accept no for an answer in wanting to pursue ambitions. I've been called little girl, I've been called many things because as an Asian woman, you're not supposed to be assertive or aggressive. And ambitious is almost a bad word, right? So we need to normalize this, and it's become my life mission to actually normalize the fact that girls all around the world can be ambitious, can achieve the same things as men can, if they put their heart into it.
It's really great and actually very inspirational, so thank you for that. Before we go into the questions that we received from the audience prior to this event, I just want to ask you more on a lighter note. What is your best King's memory?
Ooh, so Kings might not like me for saying this. I'll give a good one and a not so good one, but it was a memorable one for me. I think a really good King's memory for me was starting the business club together with a couple of our friends in the university from different, so I was in the law school, but I met through the business club people from different faculties. And that experience really changed my mind on the world, really, because King's is a really good university. And I'm not just saying this, but it's from my experience, right? I've met some really great people, and the power of alumni, guys. I have friends that are working in Silicon Valley that I visited earlier this year. One, Jack Smith, is actually one of the most successful Silicon Valley right now. I have friends in Cyprus. I have friends in Bulgaria, Kazakhstan, all around the world. We were so ambitious and so focused on building a society, because back then I think we didn't have the international trips. We didn't have the network that we have today. So I actually, in my presidential year, that was the first year we initiated an international insights trip to Dubai. And it really opened my eyes into what you can do as a dynamic team when you put ambitious people together who are focused on a goal. And we work so hard. And bear in mind, it's just a society, right? So I have my housemates that have lived with me for the last 3 years. And I think, she supported me in a lot of my activities. I think she's tuned in today as well, Bryony. And she just always sees how crazy I am, how involved I am in the society. But that really changed my perspective on what you can create with a single platform in an international market like London. And that's really changed my perspective on what I can do moving forward. So that's been a really great experience, just building the King's College London Business Club, being fully immersed in it to the extent of obsession. The second experience is really, so I was president of the business club, and I was also a cheerleader. Flyer in 2009, I think. I actually broke my arm into half, but I still have a little bit of scar, if you can see. And I broke my arm into half from doing a stunt, and this was just before competition. It looked scary. It was kind of gross, like my hand became limp and all that. But I had no family in London, I had no family in the UK, and really good housemates. I had really good friends from the business club and from the cheerleading squad, and that was just an experience in itself where you're put in a position where I literally couldn't do anything, but I had a really good support system. So yeah, it was bad that I broke my arm. And King's is still very safe, by the way. This happened because there was no planned support, but it's all part of the university experience, right? And I think I did quite the extreme where I was a crazy cheerleader, and we were doing amazing competitive cheerleading, and at the other end I was sort of trying to build my business acumen and things like that with the King's Business Club. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So just a couple of questions that the audience submitted before. So someone was asking how they can make themselves and their work to be seen both inside and outside their company, and they were kind of asking for your tips on how they can do that.
Sure. So this goes back to, I think, one of the first few questions I answered on being active in a lot of activities. So obviously choosing the path that you want to go down to and being smart about it. So if you want to go into venture capital, there are so many venture capital type events talks, things like that, where you meet the people from the community. So not just focusing within the company, but also outside the community, outside your company, and being active in that. Joining clubs and associations, chambers of commerce. In Malaysia, we have quite a few, and in London as well. So picking and choosing which are good. Some fellowships you have to pay for, so be smart about which is the most benefit. And also, I think the best way profiles that you want to emulate as well. I think that would be quite a good thing to do if you see someone that, hey, you think you might want to have a good conversation with. I've had people approach me on LinkedIn that I actually do business with now. So there's nothing stopping you from actually approaching people in a cold calling type way. The worst that you'll get is to know. Of course, don't do it too much in the sense that you become almost a stalker. But just being smart about it. Your social media is also very important, guys. So drunk photos, things like that. Employers these days, they do check Facebook. I do. I make sure that the branding that I have across my channels are quite consistent. It's not an easy task, and sometimes it gets a little bit tiring. But if you want to be in the public eye, and if you want to have a professional career where you're cool, you might want to be careful about that, because I've actually come to a point where a lot of my professional contacts have added me on Facebook. And it's almost become a challenge to think, okay, do I add them? Will they get offended? Things like that. So I've almost like a professional network where I publish things about things I do, about my views. And again, your views on things. I mean, with elections and everything, we all have become very vocal. We've all become critics of the political scenario. But just be mindful that it might come and bite you in the back later on. So always be careful with what you put out there. It's a really good tool that you can use to network and to brand yourself, but it can also work against you.
So I think we have time for like one more question, and I don't know if there can be a brief answer to this, but Sarah, what was kind of the turning point in your life that helped you towards your career path and that you embraced?
Sure. I'll be completely honest in that I didn't fully have I usually am quite goal-driven, and I have the sort of big picture at the end of it. I knew I wanted to be successful from day one, but I didn't always have a very clear picture of how do I get there. And a lot of times things happen because they had to happen for you to progress into different roles, and I think that's what happened to me. I actually came back from law school after graduation because my dad was ill from cancer, and I had no choice. I had to run his business because there was no one else that was trusted enough to run his business. Sure, we had a general manager, but for some of you Asian folks, a Chinaman business company where it's very personal, it's not as simple to get an external party to run the business as you would want it to be. And that whole experience of running the business as a young punk coming back from the UK, I was 21, and I had people that were 50 that were way ahead of me in terms of experience and skill sets that I had to manage. That really changed my perspective on what was important. I'll be honest in that I don't think I succeeded in that business. In fact, I think I failed at doing the best that I could have. But I learned a lot, right? I learned that whatever it is, cash flows come first. You can do anything you want, but if you're not going to bring money to the table, basically no money, no talk. And I gained a big appreciation for the business world. So I knew that my path was not going to be law. I mean, I knew this after my internship, but this just enforced the fact that I love business. I love making money. I love the commercial transactions and business development and, looking at investments, things like that. And my next move into Sime Darby, offered me that opportunity to pursue it even further, where we had to literally build a corporate ventures unit from scratch. So I think things lined up for me quite well in the sense that I didn't actually plan it. It happened in the way that it changed my perspective on things. Of course, it made me realize what was important with my father's passing and all that. It made me realize that, you know, you can be working so hard, but at the end of the day, nothing matters if you don't have your health. So that's really, I guess, shaped the way I've approached things. I've always used happiness as my guide to never, so the truth is you're never going to be 100% happy in everything that you do, in the jobs that you take. But so long, the majority of the time, in the bigger picture of things, you're happy with what you're doing, I think that's important. And to always think about what's next and have, I guess, gratefulness as your guide as well, to always be grateful for every opportunity. So Sime Darby actually paid for my law school, so I was under a full merit scholarship, and I wanted to serve some time with them as well. So that also shaped my career and my choice of where I am today, and no regrets there, I would say.
Yeah. No. Thank you so much, Sarah, for all of that. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. But I want to, again, Sarah, thank you just so much for being able to speak to me today and to address the questions from our audience. And I'm sure, as I said before, you're happy to connect with kind of anyone who reaches out to you from the King's Alumni community on your social media channels or on LinkedIn. So again, thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thanks very much. That was fun.
Thank you. And for our audience, again, thank you so much for joining us today for our YouTube live event and for participating in the discussion. As you know, the video will be available to you to view on the King's Alumni Office YouTube channel, and a link will be sent to you later on today. If you would like to submit any feedback to us, or if you have any other ideas for future topics, please send us an email at alumnievents@kcl.ac.uk. And just lastly, before we go, I just want to remind you to register for the King's Connect mentoring platform, and also to connect with us, the Alumni Office, through our social media channels, so you can keep up with the latest news and latest updates. We look forward to seeing you at our next event, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.